The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's been missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, this is the official post-fight review for Daniel Jacobs and Gabriel Rosado. Daniel Jacobs scores a very close split decision victory over Gabriel Rosado. Now, I don't want to use the word robbery because robbery I think would be an exaggeration. I think this fight was very close. There were a lot of rounds in this fight that were left up to interpretation. On one end, you had Daniel Jacobs, who fought with no urgency, who fought like and had the body language of a fighter who was content with where he is in life and doesn't really have any more ambitions in the sport. That's the kind of body language I saw from Daniel Jacobs. I didn't see a hungry, determined Daniel Jacobs that I'm used to seeing. And then Gabe Rosado in many rounds of this fight was he was throwing a lot of punches and he was very much in the fight, but he was rendered ineffective, so it left a lot of rounds for interpretation, and it was a very tough fight to score. And my final score for this fight was 115-113 Gabriel Rosado. I thought Gabriel Rosado got better as the fight went along. I thought he boxed a very intelligent fight behind the jab and was showing good defense in the pocket, mixing the right hand pretty good. It was a fight in a game plan that you didn't think Gabriel Rosado was going to follow going into the fight. Gabriel Rosado is not known for his boxing skills, but he took all of his experiences from all the losses and he channeled it all into one solid veteran performance, And I thought if anybody deserved a nod in a fight this damn close, it wasn't Daniel Jacobs. It was Gabriel Rosado. But boxing, once again, gets it wrong. It gets it wrong. I mean, a draw for me would have been a great result. I thought it would have been a great result because I think if there was ever a fight that deserved a draw, it was this damn fight. If there was ever a fight where I should have been scoring 10-10 rounds during on my scorecard, it would have been this fight. But Daniel Jacobs, to me, I think he's reached that point in his career, and this is my opinion. He reached that point in his career where he's got everything a fighter could want. And this is not a bad thing. If anything, we shouldn't be hating on Daniel Jacobs for this. We should be applauding and patting him on the backboard because every fighter fights to get to this position. But he's gotten the paydays against Golovkin and Canelo and all that stuff. And he's got a nice house and drives nice cars and got money in the bank and lives a good life. So I question what his ambitions are in this sport because I saw a fight in there tonight with no urgency, and that Daniel Jacobs that I saw in there tonight, he wouldn't have a snowball's chance in hell against Demetrius Andrade. He would get outclassed by Demetrius Andrade, and I think Jamal Charlo would beat him up. And I don't even want to see those fights right now. The only two fights for me that would be acceptable for Daniel Jacobs at this point in time would be a rematch of Gabriel Rosado first and foremost because Rosado deserved it tonight. And John Ryder, who I think is in need of a big fight. So you see what I'm saying? But going back to Rosado tonight, this should have been his signature moment in boxing. This should have, I'm not saying that it was a robbery, but he deserved the nod. Since one guy got the nod and the wrong guy didn't, I can talk like this. This should have been his moment in the sun tonight. This should have been his time to say, hey, I showed you all wrong. I'm better than my record indicates. And unfortunately, this is a problem that boxing has because it's a big problem because he's got so many losses. And when you get as many losses as Gabe Rosado does in his career, it gets to a point where you'll start getting robbed and you'll start losing these close fights only because of your record, nothing else. And he really got robbed because of his record and no other reason. But I was really impressed with the patience, with the poise. I think Freddie Roach and Team Rosado and everybody that was involved in his training camp deserve a whole lot of credit for formulating a great game plan, for being as patient as he was. Because I'm surprised. I was very surprised. I was sitting on pins and needles, waiting for the moment that Gabe Rosado was going to go in there and really be Gabe Rosado, be a warrior. And he's a guy that's known for getting cut. The scar tissue around his face is not the strongest at this point in time. He's known for that. So he's on the bad end of a wrong decision. And listen, I got the utmost respect for Daniel Jacobs. I'm not disrespecting him, but I'm gonna say it as bluntly and as plainly as possible. If Daniel Jacobs has any honor as a fighter, he needs to give Rosado a rematch. He does. I know there's bigger and better things out there for him, and there's gonna be more money thrown at him. But just on general principle, you left a lot to be desired tonight. And I think it's fair to say, and you guys can tell me in the comments if you agree with me or disagree with me, Daniel Jacobs in this fight with Gabe Rosado, he boxed worse in a win versus Gabe Rosado than he did in his losses against Canelo and Golovkin. He boxed better in his losses against Canelo and Golovkin than he did in his win against Rosado. And there's something to be said for that. And Rosado was a guy that had everything to gain and nothing to lose. So his reputation remains intact. If anything, his reputation is actually enhanced. The fact that he went in there against a guy that gave Canelo some solid rounds, gave Golovkin a tough fight, and you can make the argument that he boxed better against him than both those guys, except, well, not Canelo, but GGG. You can make that argument even though he didn't knock him down, because he didn't get touched. There wasn't really too many moments in that fight that you could put to memory where Daniel Jacobs landed like hard, flush, significant shots. So, Daniel Jacobs, to me, man, like I respect him. I hope to interview him on the channel one day. I was supposed to interview him before this fight, but it didn't happen. But he lost his fight. A draw would have been acceptable, but I think boxing tonight rewarded the wrong thing. You rewarded a fighter who fought with no urgency. You rewarded a fighter who didn't come to really win. You rewarded a fighter that clearly underestimated his opponent and was looking for one thing all night and fought in spurts and wasted a lot of the round. And you didn't reward the fighter who boxed discipline behind the jab. You didn't reward the fighter who didn't get hit, who was very sound and defensively responsible. You didn't reward the fighter who was the ring general. When we talk about the rules of boxing, the criteria for scoring a round, it's as simple. And if you never heard them before, let me be the first to inform you. You got ring generalship, which is who dictates where and how the fight is fought. That was Rosado. You got effective aggression, okay? This one could have gone either way. You could probably give Jacobs a slight edge based on percentages, but in the back half of that fight, Rosado was more the effective aggressor. And then defense, Rosado barely got touched. He didn't get touched that often. Neither did Jacobs, but Rosado was making the fight. Rosado was he won two of those three criteria in my opinion. That's why I won this fight. For the whole fight, for the duration of the fight, he was the ring general, and he was better defensively. And then as far as effective aggression, that's a toss-up. That could go either way. But you give it to Jacobs probably just because of the percentages and him probably being the more efficient puncher. But at the same time, even if Rosado landed less punches, the punches that he misses served their purpose. They kept Jacobs at bay. They kept Jacobs from not getting his shots off. They kept Jacobs from being able to hurt Rosado. It nullified Jacobs from showing that he was a level or two above Rosado, because let's ask ourselves this question. If Daniel Jacobs, if we didn't know anything about these fighters, let's say we don't know shit about boxing. We don't know anything about their history, who they fought, who they beat, who they lost to. We're just watching the fight. Did that look like a fight tonight where one guy was significantly better than the other? No, it did not. It looked like a fight between two very evenly matched fighters in Rosado and Jacobs. And if I was Daniel Jacobs as a competitor, as a fighter in this sport, I wouldn't want to go to bed at night thinking about that. I want to really put that to bed and try to beat him in more dominant and sensational fashion and show the world that, hey, I had a bad night. It happens to any fighter, but I'm levels above this guy. And that's what it is. But, shout out to Philadelphia. The Philadelphia boxing community has every reason to be just proud of the performance that Gabe Rosado turned in, because this is a guy that's fought on all comers. He's fought the likes of Triple G, David Lemieux, was damn near got a Canelo fight twice in his career, fought Peter Quillen. I think he fought one of the Charlos. He fought Jalen Love, Glenn Tapia. Now he's fighting Daniel Jacobs. And he's what we call in boxing a throwback fighter, willing to fight anybody, any place, anytime. And there's undefeated fighters in boxing right now, and I mean this with the most sincerity and with the utmost sincerity. There's undefeated fighters in boxing right now who are either contenders or world champions, whose careers don't mean shit compared to Rosado's, because they're not taking these big fights and they're not giving people the kind of moments in the ring that Rosado's giving you. And I'm not saying that tonight Rosado gave us anything particularly special in terms of moments, but he has in the past, and because of that, he will always have universal respect when he hangs up those gloves. So, my big tip of the cap goes to Rosado, and I still got respect for Jacobs. I love Jacobs. I think he's a great fighter. I think he's a great ambassador for the sport of boxing, and he's a gentleman, and I love Jacobs. But the wrong guy got the nod tonight, in Gabriel Rosado. If anybody deserved a nod, it wasn't Daniel Jacobs. It was King Gabe Rosado. So leave your comments down below. That's my post-fight review. You know, Daniel Jacobs, I don't want to see you moving on to bigger and better things. You still got unfinished business with Rosado. And if you're not going to fight Rosado, then fight John Ryder because he needs a big fight too. And he got routed against Callum Smith. So I wouldn't mind either one of those fights. But you leave your comments down below. Make sure you take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just giving Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.